Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, take the roll. Up. Go ahead.
Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. I'm going to read the disclaimer. Linwood Township is utilizing video communication as part of its meetings. By participating in this meeting, you agree that your image and or voice may be recorded and retained as part of the meeting. Clerk will take the roll.
Supervisor Ledke.
Here.
Supervisor Milliburn.
Here.
Supervisor Parker.
Here.
Supervisor Olson.
Here.
Supervisor Searing. Here.
All right. First order of business, approval of the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First on the agenda after that, we have the grant writer, Jennifer Sturbins. Did I pronounce that right?
Oh,
Good
I
job.
see I'm in the background here as well. Sorry about that.
Appreciate
Hi,
it.
everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that you may have. I just want to know, Pam, I think you're good luck because the day that you invited me to this meeting, I had heard that same day that I got that $1 million grant from the Department of Health. Well, today I just found out at noon, the federal government announced that a U.S. forestry grant that I had put in, a national grant, was awarded at the maximum. So I said, you must be good luck.
Good deal.
All right, very good. Pam, will speak?
Well, I
I
had
think
done.
this is who we're looking at for our grant
Yes,
writer.
yep. I sent out Jennifer's resume and her experiences. I also sent along the questions and answers from the phone interview. Now it's your chance to ask questions.
Anybody have questions? Andy?
No, I reviewed through everything. I think it's the direction we need to go is get somebody in to start chasing these down.
Bob?
Well,
I'm
and
good.
as I told Pam, I'm really flexible, so I'm here to give her as much support as she needs, wants. If something comes up and she feels comfortable doing post-award activities, or if she needs me to do something, or just guide her, or ask questions, or do the prospecting, I'm here to do whatever Pam needs or whatever the board needs at whatever level they need. You know, I'm not committed to anything. So to speak, we don't have to set anything in stone. It can be as little work as you want or as much work as you want.
John, you have questions?
So it says much or little, with a grant writing task. Can we choose which grants we have you write for? In other words, if we have a really small grant, can we choose to do it in-house without violating any
Yeah.
agreement?
Absolutely. And like I said, is I will just follow the direction of Pam or the board. I had told Pam I'd like to get together and just talk about what you have in the hopper, what kind of things you're looking for, what your wish list is, and try to pair those up with some funding. I told her that I would send her prospects and some ideas of funding opportunities. If you choose to direct me to help her with those, I can. Like I said, you can do anything in-house. It doesn't matter. I'm here at your disposal. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
and I think that there's some smaller ones that I could just guide her on with. I mean, I don't have to charge for those, but I've done so many grants that I think some of them that I think they're tasks she could just take on herself. You know, I could just guide her a little bit too. So,
Carol, you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, since I read everything, I have no problem with this at all. I noticed that there's two ways we could do this. We could do it by hour, or we can do it by a contract for 6 months at a time. What's the board's feelings on this? Andy?
Do we know, I know there was a couple for parks, right, Bob, that you had? And do we have, I don't know, if other department ones pending or any more that we're chasing with some of the state ones? I guess if we know the hopper, so to speak, to whether we go hourly or just assist staff with some would be the hourly rate, I would say. But if we have a large contingency,
Okay, so how would you like to go hourly or the contract, 6-month contract?
well, I guess that's why I wondered what the,
Do we have anything we're looking at right now, Pam?
We have projects we're looking for. I like Jennifer's suggestion of sit down with us and find out from the different departments, what are the needs? What are parks? We know there's needs there. Senior center, we know there's needs there. Roads always is from the fire department. Is there something there that, so yeah, is there anything pending? No, but, I did talk to the county. CBDG grants probably could be used for, the senior center for the renovations of the bathrooms there. But again, it's a matter of where's the staff time to attend those, the training for those? Where's the staff time to gather all that information? That's, I think, where it's from. And I don't know, Jennifer, if maybe maybe that's the first step, is to sit down with her and see what is the scope of it. If the scope is we would be ready to go out for 4 grants this year, well, then I think you've got the 6-month contract would make more sense. But otherwise, if in going over them, we decide there that you'd rather go hourly, but I kind of think we know what some of the needs are, but as she said, what's on the wish list too, because maybe there's money out there for that. The other thing that, I should let Jennifer speak to that, but as far as when it's a matching grant, there was a discussion about, we talked a little bit about finding the other money for the matching grant. Could you maybe address that?
Yeah, sure. And so I had just talked to Pam, and really the prospecting part of the grant applications is a huge thing. You don't always get opportunities pushed to you, so to speak. And sometimes you just have to know what comes up from experience. And sometimes you have to know when they're out there as well. I know you guys did the EPA you did the recycling center grant. That one didn't come out this year. I was prepared for that I also do grant writing for the city of Joplin, Missouri. They are not in the same pool as you at all. In fact, they used to be considered a rural town. And then about 4 years ago, when the classifications were redone, they fell into the urban grant. So they have to apply for urban competition grants only. So they're going against cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. They are not in the same wheelhouse as you at all. So you would not be competing with them for any grants. They were set to go for the recycling grant, and that RFP never came out this year. So I think just being able to track those is a job itself. And then I did tell Pam that there's some opportunities the state has right now for certain grants. Federal grants, they will give you money. You apply and they will give you money for the match. And I talked to her about leveraging some other sources too. There's some other ways that we could go about. And actually, Pam, I just came across an opportunity today where certain transportation grants you might apply for. The state of Minnesota also has a fund to reimburse you for grant writing as well. So that's something that we can look into, because if my services can be reimbursed to the township by a state grant, that would be really beneficial as well. Save you guys some money. So I'll work with Pam to leverage any sources of match funds that we can, just to save some more money. Everybody loves free money. And I think it's great for your township too, to know that the board is diligently working to find some cost savings as well.
Okay, well, first things first, I'll entertain a motion to hire
Mr. Chair.
Jennifer. Yep.
I have one more question then.
Yep.
Is there, if you're under contract or you're working with another city, would you write a grant for Linwood and go for that same grant for another community?
No, because they don't apply for the same kind of grants that you would be applying for. And they apply in a different category. They apply in the urban category. So like I said, they compete with cities like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. And so the pool of money that Linwood would be going for is separate than what Joplin goes for.
Sure, Joplin, but any of your other clients?
No. The only other client that I work for that the one that I was awarded today is a project in northern Minnesota. It's a wood innovations grant, and that was a one-time thing. And the only other client that I do work for right now is Sanford Health Corporate. And so I write a lot of health grants for them. So I really don't think that there's anything that would come into play with you guys. The Department of Health has like the well protection grant. But otherwise they don't, theirs are all clinical or healthcare based. So they would never be competing.
Thank
And
you.
if I ever had a conflict, I would let you know, but I don't anticipate that at all, which is why I put in my resume for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to hire Jennifer as our grant writer, if the board so pleases.
I'll make a motion to hire Jennifer as our grant writer.
I got a motion for a second.
Just a friendly amendment with the hourly rate to start with the meetings.
Fine.
No, and then I'll second
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so we have a motion to hire Jennifer as our grant writer at the hourly rate for the time being. We can always change that to to a 6-month contract, can we not? Do you have a problem with that?
No, I would love to sit down with Pam and we'll go through and then come back to the board and you can decide what's more feasible for you.
Very good. All right, I got it moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. You've just
Thank
been
you.
hired. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to working with everyone. If you don't
Gotcha.
mind, I'm going to stay on for the rest of the meeting, but I'm going to turn my camera off.
That's just fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Fire department.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Parker, supervisor, staff, and of course, the residents. For the month of April, we had a total of 20 calls, 14 being medical, 2 fire, 2 service calls, 1 good intent call, and 1 false alarm. So to date, we have 78. Last year at this time, we had 88, so we're trending down, which is always a good thing. At this time, I'd like to bring the truck committee up, along with a representative from Rosenbauer, Steve Harris, and they would like to go over the engine 2 replacement.
Town Board, thanks for having us. I guess we have Steve here. We are looking to, again, seeking approval for purchase or the initiation of a purchase for the new engine. I have Steve here to answer any questions that the board may still have. I know we've had a few meetings, trying to cross all the Ts and dot all the Is so that everybody's on the same page, but there's a lot of information. So I guess initially I'd like to start with if anybody has any questions that we can answer before we look for the approval.
Anybody?
I did have a question on if the chassis amount of $491,974 is paid upon arrival at the plant in Minnesota, it says deduct $18,893 each. Is that per chassis and per final bill or?
No, it's just if you chose to buy more than one apparatus. So this, that deduct, if you chose to take that would, the deduct of, the 18,000. What is it? I didn't bring my glasses in here. So
18,000
that would come off of the final invoice.
off the final invoice, but
Yep.
not for the down payment.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
As far as the change orders,
Uh-huh.
it states in there that there's potential for 25% markups and 50% markups within all the way, between the windows and stuff.
Oh, okay.
My
Yep.
concern
Yep.
is we're getting a chassis. The rush here is to get this chassis here so we can get it in line. But if we
Yep.
don't know what they're doing with that engine, when do you consider a change order a change order?
Well, for us, I mean, we typically wouldn't consider a change order ourselves. The change order would come as a request from the fire department. So if there was something they wanted to change, add, deduct, whatever it would be, we would provide pricing to Mike or the chief for approval before we would move ahead with anything.
Any other questions?
So we had a lot of discussion about the DEF system. So I think if I understand right, we got that worked out as far as if we do make a decision that we can get the current emissions and not get stuck with the upgrade.
Correct. Yep. I would love to have, if you guys approve this tonight, I really, and again, this sounds, sounds like a sales guy, right? But we really are at the end of our allocations for this. And I think probably one of the biggest reasons that I was able to, because we're not being very flexible at all with our allocations, was just based on you guys being a local customer. And I mean, we've got quite a few residents that work at our place in Wyoming, Minnesota. And so that was kind of the stipulation from our inside sales manager, was that I needed to provide something with a signature tomorrow.
Okay.
So, but we're in good shape.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Carol? Bob? Andy?
No? You guys got it?
Thanks, Steve. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Start your presentation. Chief?
You guys should have all of the pricing and everything in front of you. I sent that over earlier in the week. So if there aren't any questions, I guess the pricing is there as close as we can get it, which I believe is pretty close to what we're looking for. And then Bob, I believe, had asked for pricing for the incidentals, I guess I can call them, extra extrication tools, hose, stuff that is not going to come as part of this package with any manufacturer, but stuff that we are going to want to put onto the new engine when we replace it, and that is just under 100,000. So the package we put in for the grant was for 80, and that was a kit, tools, and then the way that they wrote the grant was as a kit to give us some flexibility for what we add into that kit. But the additions to the tools in this case are the hose, which is almost 10,000, battery powered leaf blower and an extrication set, and then extrication cutoff tool going with that battery powered platform. What am I forgetting? Yep, battery powered fan. And all of that is not a $20,000 difference. It's quite a bit more, but that is some of the incidental stuff that would have been in that kit had we gotten that, or if we do get that grant. So in the actual dollars for the outfitting plus the stuff for the extrication kit, we're looking at about 100,000. So just to add to the engine price for getting that total for the bonding.
Are you putting a generator on it?
No,
So that changes or additions, adding a generator, you're not doing any of that?
nope, this will not need a generator. The reason we had a generator on the other engine was because it had electric over hydraulic extrication tools. So this one, we will not need that.
But if that grant comes through, then we're
That would come right off the money that we would need to
We're just putting that
put it in
number-
service.
we're just putting that in just in case the grant.
Correct.
comes through.
Yep.
Okay.
Bob wanted what we're looking at. And then just for reference to, we heard today 7 to 10% from one of the sales outfits for these, fire accessories and stuff like that. So from the tools to the hose or whatever, but annually, that's what they're anticipating is 7 to 10% from this year to next at least. So just for reference, I guess.
What would our total cost that we be saying we're gonna spend tonight is?
1.113388.
Is that that bottom number I saw down here? 1132. Now is that, that's not what the generator's on it though, right?
No.
No,
That's,
wrong.
That's a different
That-
quote, isn't it?
I thought that was the number if we ended up paying for the new emissions, because that was gonna be like another 50 grand.
The number you're referring to is for a different company.
That's a different vendor.
Okay, different vendor. Okay, so what is?
The
our final-
Rosenbauer's, you want to give them what the pricing was?
I can see it.
If
Oh,
you can't see it, that's fine. I'll say what the number
yeah,
is.
right, exactly. Looks like what, 978,
620.
620, and that's before the progress paid discount that would get taken off at the end if you choose to pay that chassis portion and that. And I know a couple of the members were at the truck committee meeting a week or two ago. That chassis payment, the chassis would not come off of our line probably for about 14 months from when you place the order. So that progress payment wouldn't be due until probably, July or August of next year, somewhere in there.
So we have until then to decide whether we're gonna do the advanced payment.
Yeah, if it does occasionally happen, especially sometimes right now with interest rates being as they are, if a year from now you guys look at this and find it's beneficial just to not make that payment, and there's no penalty or anything, it just, you would not get that discount off the end.
So then if we add in the 100K, we're the 978, 620 plus the 100K, so then we're looking at 1,078,620. That I think is the right number, right?
That would be it. Add that 100,000 on there.
Okay. And do we have any information at all on the bonding?
We don't, we'd have to go to the bank for bonding, wouldn't we?
Body?
Bonding.
Bonding.
Sorry.
Bank has money, we don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, that place.
yeah. I actually got one quote back. If we financed the whole thing, and I was just going off of the $978,620, I did not add that 100,000 in on there. 10 years, I stretched it out, obviously. Be looking at payments of $128,736.63 a year for 10 years. But that's including everything. That's not including, so if we were to do like the upfront differently, but within that, the total interest that we would pay over 10 years is $308,746.32. So I am waiting for a couple more banks to get back to me on that. And I have looked at a couple more options, the fire capital has 119,000 in it. I mean, if we could find grants for any of it, I'm not sure.
Well, what did I say at the meeting? 77,000 butter braids?
Yeah,
That's what I said.
maybe 177,000, whatever it is.
You gotta be a thinker, out of the box.
Okay,
So the fire capital, that's what money's been put away for the last couple of years with the intent of that going towards the fire truck. Is that right?
They have their big bucket list and when we go through budgeting and stuff, they bring forward a number and that's when we go to justifying what gets levied to put in there. Like last year, They only went for SCBA's. Or we emptied it out on the SCBA's because we were far behind on that. So the intent was to continue putting the money into the fire capital, knowing that we have these expenses coming forward. I think it was known at budgeting time that there's no way we're gonna be able to pay $1 million for a fire truck right up front. Or buy it outright. So in the event, we were just putting money away into the fire capital for their needed items.
Right now, looks like we April period is $119,224 in there.
Is that 10K? Is that what was allocated for 24? Is that what's going into it at the end of 24? Or that's what it's currently?
Let me,
It says budget of 10,000, receipts of 805. What would have come out? What would have been a capital purchase for $805?
how much one? Oh, that's receipts. That's interest coming in.
Okay, that's that in there.
Yep, that's not a disbursement. Going in 2024 for the levy splits.
So with that, I mean, you will have other expenses too, the bonding expenses. The last time we bonded, we went through Ellers to do the bonding process. And then the loan was actually through First State Bank of Wyoming. What that would mean if you commit to doing this is that the very least that you can, if you've got general obligation debts out there, the very least that you can levy for is the amount of your payback amount. So if it's 128,000, that would have to be levied for every year. The board's committing to levying that the very least for fire equipment. Then keep in mind, you will have other equipment, other capital equipment for fire. So when it comes to budgeting time, you're gonna be up around probably 150,000. But the very minimum, once you make that commitment, then that's the very minimum that you will be putting into fire equipment or fire capital each year.
So is there like an origination fee on a bond then?
Yeah, that'll be through Ellers.
Okay. Do you remember roughly what, I mean, are we looking at 5,000 or 50,000?
I don't know that number.
And did you have, what was was the year 119, I'm sorry, that was already with 2024 put in it, right?
No, that's current.
Okay, so what goes in it in 2024?
We have. So roughly at the end of the year, we'll have 250,000 in fire capital if we don't use it on anything else.
Do you have 25's numbers, what we budgeted for 25?
Not on hand, no.
Okay.
Roughly, I think it was 100,000 for them.
So before delivery, we should have, I mean, again, this is assuming we didn't spend anything else out of fire capital. We'd have 350,000 roughly set aside for it. So we're gonna be bonding the difference.
When do you expect delivery for that?
660, right?
660 after we have the pre-construction and release production specifications. So, and I
26
anticipate we do
months.
that 24 to 26 months would be my estimation from time of order.
About 750,000. If you empty the bank account. If you empty the bank account. We don't spend it, it's 750. Round up to 800. Probably have to bond for right around 8, I think. Board's pleasure.
I got a question. Can we, with our levy and the way it went this year, can we really commit to 150,000 every year? Because that's what we're gonna have to do. I mean, if you take roads and fire department and recycling and all the different departments, it's kind of scary. Cause if somebody says, you're not gonna get this kind of money next year because they don't want to pay the taxes, where are you gonna get the 150,000? I mean, I don't want to be the one that says we shouldn't do this because but it just is scary to me.
Anybody else? Andy,
Go ahead, ma'am.
comments? Pam?
No, I just have a question. And I know this probably was during budgeting season, but what's the next scheduled truck for replacement at the fire department?
After this, the tender.
What year?
Tender two. It's a 2006, seven? 6 or 7.
But what's the replacement, kind of the target? What year do you think that would be replaced?
It's 2028. 7 years. So 31 or 32. So the 25-year life cycle, sorry. The NFPA standard is a 25-year life cycle. Ours, we had a plan in place, but things change. Our old, starting with our old rescue rig, the old big panel van. And then, we've had some DNR stuff that we've utilized and then, got to the point where we couldn't utilize it anymore. So engine 2 right now is already outside that scope. But that 25 year is basically what we go off of, which is the NFPA standard. So when that hits that 25-year mark is when it should be. The refurb is at the half-life, and then at 25 years, they say it should be taken out of the fleet. So for emergency response frontline vehicles. So the 2007 would be 2032 then for 25 years. And that's what we based everything off of. Obviously, when we did this initially, we tried also to budget for it. And going off our $450,000 engine last time, we figured, I believe we were thinking it was going to be like 550 or 650, somewhere in there, which still was way off, obviously. And so trying to guess where we're going to be at is, almost impossible, which is, I believe, a big portion of why we went to the bonding in the first place, because we didn't have that, capital saved up because the pricing didn't match what we were saving. So we continue to look at that, but it doesn't really seem to matter, when in 11 years, something doubles. I mean, nobody can budget or guess for that, but.
Pam?
I just got all kinds of questions. So then the current engine then, it was discussed at one meeting that possibly that would be kept as opposed to sold. If that were kept, would that be one that would be used if the fire service contract with Oxford goes in? Is there a way to recoup some costs? Again, I realize that service
Yep.
costs can only be what our expenses are, but if we purchase a new truck, that's what our expenses are. That would come into contracting.
Right. So, we took that off the table because of the logistics or storage, and trying to utilize it for response to Oxford would still put it as a frontline, which again falls out of that NFPA standard. So we thought it would be more prudent to take it out of service, and then there will be a value to selling that. And I can tell you from what I've looked at, there was a couple that were close, and I believe one was 50,000 and one was closer to 100, but it's the used engine market. That's just what, I just did a fairly short search on it to see, what's out there, but there is some value to the resale of it, which would recoup some funds, but there's no guarantee on what that is, if it's $1 or if it's 100,000. So I'm sure that isn't super helpful, but there is some value, still to the engine. So
Other questions? Comments?
The 100K, so is that grant? Is that all or nothing, or is there still funds with that were?
It's a all, 80,000 was the actual grant that we applied for. And that was as a kit. So like I say, the 80,000 was the extrication tools put into a kit. So we could do some of those additional things, which we can, include in that kit. And that's just a all or nothing through the Fed.
I don't even like thinking about grants. You can't even bring it into the conversation. Just like we learned in budgeting, it kept being brought up. Well, what about the grant from Mart Lake Road? You know what? You can't bring that up. I don't even like talking about it, even though we got the Mart Lake Road one.
What you got? Hope you get some of them.
But I do think you can finance them separately because you're not going to need that. I don't think you're going to need that extrication kit for 20 to 24 months.
Correct. We won't need it until we're ready to put the engine in service.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be wrapped into the bond with the truck. Matter of fact, I think they probably would rather have you bond for one piece of
the truck.
equipment. And then if you need to borrow for
Right.
the rest of it, that still gives you 2 years to try for grants and we just
Our
hired a
intention
grant
is
writer.
to, correct, and our intention is to apply for this exact same grant again next year if we don't get it, although from what we heard at the Chiefs Conference, next year's grant money is quite a bit tighter than this year's. So we're hoping, more for this year than next, but we do have opportunities to apply for them, but I wanted just to, for the sake of transparency, that expense is coming one way or another, when we get ready to put this thing in service, so.
Other comments? Questions? Board's pleasure.
So if we do move forward, we're not gonna be approving the 1.078. We'd be approving just the 978.
620.
Right.
Correct.
Say that again, Mike.
We won't be going for the full million. If we do anything tonight and we approve this, we'll approve to go with bonding for $978,620. We won't include that other $100 for the extrication kit.
That would be the purchase of 978, but the bonding would be still less.
We'd be approving the purchase price for $978,620.
Steve, is this the extent of the whole contract? Cause this is just appendix C. So is there more, am I missing?
No, you are not missing anything.
It starts with that, okay.
I send you more than that?
It's a big number.
That's why I'm wondering I'm just in the packet, so I don't know if my email, cause this just, well, it seems odd that something would start with appendix C.
Yeah, it's all of these. A
Oh,
and
that
B
one
too.
and the AB.
And
But that
that would be the
is set
spec, the spec
The
sheets.
specs.
So there is a lot for the chassis and then for the body specifications too, but there's no numbers tied to that. It's not part of the contract. If I'm correct, Steve, right?
Right. I mean, but I'm assuming whether you have the chassis be appendix A and the body be B or vice versa, it doesn't matter, but that's where your C comes into.
C is just the combined, right?
C is actually just the change order policy.
Oh.
I just asked for clarification.
Go ahead.
Page 3, it says SA pumper tanker chassis model Rosenbauer 10/3 of 2023. Is that the year of the chassis that we're getting?
I don't
That's
have
probably
it.
the initial.
I sent it
What,
in your email.
Might be in my
Email,
packet.
Separate one?
In your packet in your email.
Page 3
Page 3.
in bold.
Oh, all that is our software, like software updates. So, yep. Yeah, there's probably a few other places, maybe where you might see, yeah, it looks like page 6, same where it talks about the pump compartment. That's just, it's the data version of when we had our last software update as far as option content, stuff like that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now's the time. Yea or nay? I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a Rosenbauer pumper, Rosenbauer Commander chassis, the cost of $978,000 and $978,620. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
It's hard for this board to do this when you have every community within 5 miles is a phone call away. And it's hard for this board to do this when we spend tons of money every year and it keeps getting brought back to us, the what ifs. What if the truck breaks down? What if all this crap happens? And it's super frustrating. It's frustrating when people come to annual meetings and saying, you won't buy us a generator. We can't open up our doors because you won't buy us a generator. And then it takes a retired chief to come in to remind you guys that you have 5 generators in your building. So this is very frustrating for this group. We support you guys 100%. 100%. We support you. But it's hard to do this stuff, knowing what's around this community, knowing that Forest Lake's at a speed dial, Andover's at speed dial. In the what ifs, what if we get a flat tire? What if? I don't live my life on what ifs, but this board gets brought a lot of what ifs, but it's frustrating, but I don't know.
Any more discussion?
So what, as far as the financing, then I guess we're approving without the next steps.
We're
of
approving
knowing-
the bill.
Just
Their
just
job.
the purchase order.
Correct.
We're approving to purchase.
I will work on
That's their job to
financing
figure out the
and
bonding and
different
stuff.
options moving forward now that we have the approval.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your work.
Thank you, board. We do appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you for looking after us.
And-
Buying a fire truck.
From Rosenbauer, Minnesota, I can tell you thank you too. Not that we're, in your township, but we're right next to it and we're looking forward to building you a great truck.
Super. Thanks, Steve.
We got in
Thank you.
1997 that you could put in your museum and buy back.
Probably some trade-in value there.
What's the cycle value on? Oh my gosh, yeah. Thank you again.
Steve.
We hope we can pay for it.
Thank you.
Bet.
And I just want to thank the truck committee. They spent a lot of hours doing this. And again, thank you, board, for the support on that. The DNR burning restrictions were lifted May 6th. The generator, Lieutenant Sullivan is still working with Commissioner Reinhardt on the possibility of getting a generator. More to follow on that.
Chief,
Yes,
I
sir.
wasn't here at that meeting. Can you just give me just the crash? Just the 411 on this generator with Commissioner Reinhardt.
So during the annual meeting, it was brought up on a sidebar conversation about some possible money being available within the county on the generator. That was kind of stemmed over from a couple of years ago. After looking at their funds and some of the stuff that they generated, Commissioner Reinhardt said there's a possibility of the county pitching in for a grant. So he's looking at some different options. Initial price point on that was about 96,000. Since then, and Lieutenant Sullivan is kind of championing that. But I believe that number has changed to around 67,000. Is that? So about 49,000. So I think that's a little bit more palatable
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
for the county.
So now, is this a grant or just
This is money that the county has available.
Man, we got a lot of money available.
So, so more to follow on that. We are going to circle back with Commissioner Reinhardt. And hopefully, keep that conversation going so it doesn't get put to the wayside. So, but as that is generating, we will definitely, no pun intended, we will keep the board updated on where that goes. We did have a meeting with Douglas Robinson. He is from Versick, for the ISO meeting. It's, ISO is the Insurance Services Office. And that's kind of based on, whatever your rating is for the residents' insurance. Had a pretty good conversation with them. It's a lot easier than in the past. Currently, we're at about a 54% on a scale of 1 to 100. It's going to take until about October for him to get the results, and then we'll know. Every indication is we're not going to go down. In any effort, we may go, I mean, we're not going to go up, but after talking to him, we may go down with the addition of the county garage going off 197th. That's another water source on the south side. And just the discussion of the engine, he'll put that in as a rebuttal type deal, I guess he said. So again, hopefully that number will go down and insurance will go down for the residents. So any questions on that? During the Anoka County Fire Protection Council meeting, Supervisor Olson and I attended the meeting. The budget of $503,039 was voted on both by the elected officials and the fire chiefs, and it did pass unanimously. So there was no shock there. It didn't go up or it didn't go down. So we were kind of on cue on that total amount. Just a couple of fire department comments. I am meeting with Oxford Township tonight to go over fire coverage. I'll be leaving here shortly. We did submit a grant, the LFD, or I'm sorry, the VFA grant, which is the Volunteer Firefighter Assistance Grant. It's the DNR matching grant, so $10,000. It's a 50-50 grant, in hopes of getting the remainder of the grass gear that we're still in need of. The last thing I have is the batteries on grass 1 went out. So looking to spend up to $350 to buy 2 new batteries for grass 1. And Captain Hansen is going to get those at a reduced rate. So that's why they're a little bit cheaper than normal.
350.
Yes.
Make a motion without the fire department to spend $350 for new batteries for grass 1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead, chief.
And that's all I have. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Thank you very much, sir.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Anoka County Election Integrity Team. They've got a request.
You guys want me to, is this one working? Can you hear me?
None.
I have it on.
I gotta turn the switch.
Andy, will you turn that up?
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hello? Or do you want me at the table there?
Sit at the table.
You can sit table, I guess.
Oh, prizes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving us this time tonight. My name is Derek Lind. I'm actually from Ramsey. And I'm with ACIT, Anoka County Election Integrity Team. The purpose of us coming out tonight was to ask you for permission to come out at a future date and give a thorough presentation on what we've been given to other cities. We've been to 4 cities already. Oak Grove, now then, Ham Lake, Ramsey. We're going to East Bethel at the end of this month. And we're just bringing them some information on what control you have over your elections, what the cities can do over their elections. I don't know if you guys remember seeing me back in October. I came out and brought those cards. That first card is basically the 6 things that you have control over. If you look at the second page, the white paper that I gave you, that's a picture of our team, the ACIT team. It's been in existence for a little over 2 years. It was actually started by Lisa and a few other people. And we've grown to about 20 people. We had 30 people present directly to the Anoka County Board of Commissioners.
But we would bring our team out with a slide presentation and just kind of go through what control you have over your elections. All we do is focus on elections. In the middle of that picture of the people is Liz Collin, the Alpha News reporter. She came out and interviewed us on April 29th. She's very interested in election integrity. So she hasn't printed anything yet. That was about 2 weeks ago, but she says she's going to go to print with that. If you could look at the next piece of paper there, it's the last page, not the cards, but the paper. The city of Oak Grove on April 29th voted to hand count their votes. Now, I want to clarify what that means. You have to use the machines. That's a state mandate. So they held their election on, or they're going to hold their election on election night using the machines. That's mandated by state law. But 10 days later, they're going to do what's called a post-election review, where they're going to go in and actually physically hand count their votes. They're going to go all the way down the ballot. We were kind of hoping they'd do one precinct. They have 4, but they decided to do all 4 of them. And don't quote me on this, but their city clerk said the cost was about $2,000. That was the estimate. I don't know. We do come in with cost estimates. They're larger. Oak Grove is larger than you guys. I know after buying that fire truck, you don't want me coming in here asking for more money. That's a tough act to follow. But again, the purpose of me coming in is just to say, can you get us on the schedule? Give us a little more thorough presentation at a future date. So do you have something you want to say?
I just want. So I know that ACID has shared a lot of information to you guys. I brought Rick Weibel in, did a hand demonstration for you guys. He gave statues and a lot of information that day. But I don't know if you remember, I mentioned at, it was one of the meetings, but I just want to make sure that you do look at the Ohio Butler County Sheriff, Richard Jones, on his information that he shared after he met with the FBI, and how things this year, there's more red flags than there was for 9/11. We need to try and make this year's election secure, and we're looking at you to help us make it that way.
I want to make one other point. I live in Ramsey, where we've already given this presentation, and tonight they're meeting to talk about what to do and whether or not to act. And one of the things I said to them was, we're going to need a list of judges that are willing to go in and hand count, and my name would be at the top of that list to do it for free. I mean, I don't need to get paid. And I think we can get a lot of people on that list. I think citizens would feel more comfortable with the results of their elections. Lisa's she's one of our lean hand counters. I think we could get some more hand counters. I don't know how many you could round up for Linwood, but there could potentially be no cost on that. The other thing we're going to be pushing is to get rid of the electronic poll pads. We think that's where some of the cheating is being done. Basically get the electronics out of the system. And that's what the presentation would be about. If we're able to come back in and give a longer presentation, we'd have slides and, pamphlets to hand out to you guys. So that's basically it. I know you're having a pretty serious evening. I think I'll wrap up there unless you have any questions.
Board like to hear more? No?
I would.
Andy?
And when you come back, you would have some estimates on what the cost of.
Yeah,
county's
and you'd
gonna
be surprised. I think it's under $1 a vote usually. But again, that's if you're going to pay your judges. It depends on what you pay your judges. And are you going to have free judges? I think Lisa would probably do it for free, and I think we can get more people. Citizens need to get back involved in their elections. That's what we got away from. I mean, it's once every 2 years. It's not that big a deal. I would hand count the rest of my life for free. I don't need to get paid. And you guys got enough expenses to worry about,
Tom, you have a question in the back?
Every time this subject comes up, I have the following question.
Yep, microphone.
Not sure if that works.
Can you hear me?
It's on.
I don't think I'm on. Oh, okay. Every time this question comes up, I have the following question. If the machine count is different from the hand count, how do you decide which one's right?
I think right now, the state statute says they're going to go with the machine.
So then what's the point?
Well, let people know. I mean, if it's one off, I don't think that's a big deal. We had a school board race that was 1 vote off. The machine it missed 1 vote. Zach Arco. But if it's a lot of votes, then, you know, those guys can figure out what to do from there. A lot of this is messaging. There's a lot of things we're gonna have to change. There's about 10 things that are really wrong with our elections. You guys have control over about 3 of them, 3 of the really important ones. But we gotta start somewhere. I can't go to St. Paul. Anoka County's working with us a little bit. We're working on the politics there. It's building. Jeff Reinert's been the only commissioner that supported us so far. And we think we're gonna add another 1 or 2 here in the next election. It takes some time, but we're starting with the cities. I think we're gonna try to go to 21 cities. We've only been to 5 or 6 and you're one of them, so. Does that answer your question? Not really? I mean, if there's big disparities, that's one thing. I think people just wanna have confidence in their elections, and the only way to know for sure is to hand count. Because once that ballot goes in a machine, nobody knows what happens. So in my opinion, all of the electronics need to be removed from the elections, because I got a news flash for you, people cheat in elections. You know, I'm not saying there's cheating here or, you know, necessarily anywhere, but the only way to know for sure is to see it with our own eyes. So I think I've spoken a lot. Any other questions?
So if we want to do this, you figure take half hour?
It's up to you.
Okay,
That's the good minimum.
so
The more the better. We've, a couple of them have been 45 minutes. East Bethel's given us 20. We've done it 30 minutes. It's up to you.
So if we did it, say 30 minutes before the start of our meeting, if we had them come in 30 minutes before the second meeting of the month, it's supposed to be a short meeting, and I'd rather do it then. So we could set it up for something like that. Would that work? Everybody else would be
So you do as a half-hour special meeting?
half-hour special meeting before the regular meeting.
We've done a lot of work sessions. I think that's what you're talking
So,
about.
well, this would be a special meeting for us to come in.
Okay.
So that's what it would be.
Okay.
Just the challenge with setup is all I think. If we could, if it's the second meeting, we could limit our time and just have it be at the end to be easier, because then we can adjourn
So do you want to do it before the meeting or after the meeting?
after.
So you don't want to do it after the
I'd
meeting?
rather do it before.
Carol's before. John?
It makes no difference.
Bob? All right, so we do it before. What meeting, remember, are we in the second meeting of the month?
First, we have one more.
Okay. Well, when be the board, when do you want to do it? Do you want to do it the next meeting, or would you rather
We're-
wait another month after?
We're in
this and
East
do it after
Bethel on
this?
the 29th. I'm trying to think of when that's a Wednesday though.
Ours is the 28th, but that's.
We could do that.
Gonna be a fairly heavy meeting.
Okay.
so.
Is it?
Do you want me to reach out to you and we can
No, the
schedule
board's gonna
something?
have to.
Okay.
decide.
How about if we set this up for June 25th, starting at 5 o'clock, or starting at 5:30? Is everybody good with that time? Andy?
If it's, I mean, if before is a pleasure, can we do it before one of the special ones we already have and just post it as that? I mean, I'm asking the question, I'm only saying because setting this up while I'm in a meeting and we're
Well,
having a
actually-
meeting. is a
actually, we have the
challenge.
employee
We have
handbook
2 more
meeting
meetings
coming
coming
up,
up.
So we're gonna be here for employee handbook meetings anyhow, so we could do it before that. If the board wanted to do that. So if we want to look at that for a time span,
June 13th.
we got June 13th at 6 o'clock here. We have the employee handbook coming up. Do you want to set up for
I
5?
think that's gonna be a really long meeting.
I think it is too. Okay, let's not use that one then. Let's use a different one.
We don't have a different one.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to open this up to the public too, or is it like,
They can come in and watch.
they can come and watch?
They
Okay.
can come and watch. Well, we have. That won't be good, man. It already is. All right, when we set up for the 25th. Let's set up for June 25th at, do you want to make it a half hour or an hour, folks? Half hour? 5:30 on June 25th. If you guys can come back, we'll give that half hour before our meeting.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna be reaching out to you guys by email and I'm gonna send you some
good with that?
information in advance too. There's a movie to watch and just some other stuff. And then if you need to, sometimes people want to have questions outside of that meeting too. We've had that with quite a few council members, so.
Before we do this, let's make this a motion.
Should we move that to like 5:15 so that it gives us 15 minutes between the end of that and our regular board meeting?
Make it a motion.
And then it'll give Andy a little time to set up also.
All right, so we'll set up
You said the 25th?
25th at 5:15. If someone else make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we have this election integrity meeting on June 25th at 5:15 for a 30-minute presentation.
Move, do I hear a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
Thank you very much. One last question. Will we have access to a computer? Like, can we do slides? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. All right, Road and Bridge.
Call me when I'm busy.
Oh, we're gonna start kicking this now.
All right, Road and Bridge. At the last Road and Bridge meeting, we had a couple residents that came in, concerned over dust on 230th Avenue, just behind the hall here. They asked a couple questions. One was if there was any way that we could do dust control, which we're always looking at. They also asked about possibly changing the speed limit and posting it as a lower speed limit. So we are looking at some different dust control issues. So I'll be getting back to him. There was also a concern over tree limbs hanging over West Mart Lake Drive for larger vehicles. So we haven't hit anything with the dump trucks when we've been plowing, but we'll take a look at that. I drove it the other day. I really didn't see much for an issue there. We had looked at calcium chloride as a dust control in some areas. The estimate came back at $2,200 per mile. And that covers an 18-foot wide swath. So the committee didn't feel that that was really a reasonable cost to spend for dust control, and we'd have to do it at least twice on each road. So the other thing is I did go to the MAT spring courses, and there was a gentleman in there that talked about this exact thing as dust control and runoff of water. And he said that there's a method that they've come up with where you take gravel and recycled asphalt, you wet it to a certain point, you lay it out, and then you compress it or you roll it. And he said what they have found is that they're getting about a 3 years worth of wear on it. They said at 1.5 inches, it's got some flex on the gravel roads, so the frost heaves don't affect it as much. But it's dust control. It manages the runoff as long as whoever puts it down puts a little crown on it, so it handles the runoff. The nice thing about this is it doesn't threaten our water. You know, we've got so many lakes that it's really hard to put down calcium chloride around the lakes. So I've talked to this gentleman. I'm going to continue to talk to him. I'm going to talk to some different contractors and see if we can find somebody that can do that and then what the cost is. If it's something that looks favorable, I'll bring it back to the board and maybe we can pick a small section someplace that we've had dust issues and maybe pilot it this year if the cost isn't too much. We worked on preparing to do crack sealing. So we're identifying roads right now that we want to look at for this year. So at the next meeting, I'll bring back what our proposal is to move forward on crack sealing for this year so we can go out for bids. And we are going to start our road tours in June. Going through that'll give the guys enough time to get the potholes fixed. And then they can go out and they'll check all the roads and give us reports back like they did last year. And then we can kind of tailor our workload based on that. That's all I have for Road and Bridge.
Any questions? Thank you, John. Linwood Family Fun Day?
Family Fun Day met last week and yeah, moving forward with a few, there's talks on the contract stuff. Was that coming? Did you get that from Nancy? You drafted that up, right, Pam? The internal contract one? Well, there's a couple vendors that she said she spoke with the office and didn't have contracts in place for that we should, so we just gotta get something, so they're working on something there that will bring forward with a couple of those contractors to have something in place. Otherwise, they met with a lot of the other subcommittees reported out and moving along, and again, volunteer signups will be coming out here in June. That's a big part of it.
Any questions for Andy? Let's go to school forest.
1 week from today, there's a spring fling. It's like a color run in the school forest from 4:30 to 6. You can contact the school if you got any questions on that. 2 weeks from tomorrow is the planting day from 9 to 4. They're gonna plant a whole bunch of trees at the school forest too, so if anybody's interested in doing that. Other than that, I think the mosquitoes are in the forest and soon to be the black flies, so
So the ticks,
enjoy it yesterday.
the ticks.
Oh, the ticks are really bad, no, so
Really bad this year.
careful with that stuff.
Yep.
No, that's about it.
All right. Go to old business, park attendant.
Bob and I just, did one interview this afternoon. We have one, possibly two more applicants, so we're gonna try to get them, interviewed early next week. And then we should be able to bring back to the next board a proposal. That's kind of where we're at. Did I miss anything, Bob?
You are right on.
Any questions for him? Driveway inspector duties.
I don't know who is speaking to this.
Who speaks to that? Pam? Driveway inspector
Me.
duties.
Okay, I must have worded it different. So, the duties threw me off, sorry. Okay, so in the past, we had a public works employee that was part-time that was doing the driveway inspections. And then there's been times that we've talked about, having our, zoning administrator do it. And there was times that we've talked about that that's probably not a good idea. So I've visited with Carol and Pam a little bit about it. I wanted to throw out there, we have enough time that it'll be a little bit better once we get a person on for mowing grass. But the thought is that our current public works employees may take that role on. But I wanted to present that to the board and have some dialogue if necessary. But I can't think of who else would you send out to do driveway inspections if it's not the public works employees.
Discussion? Pam? Andy? Carol? Bob?
They actually have time.
They'll get it in.
Have they done any pothole patching this year yet?
No, they'll get to that.
Okay. Seems like a lot of extra work.
Well,
If they don't do it, I'm honestly, I'm open for any suggestions, so, but I kind of went through every employee that we have. And I don't have another alternative. Any thoughts on anybody else to do it?
anybody else who can do it?
Your part-time job?
So a couple of things. So whichever direction, so we'd have to, because wasn't that in the zoning administrator position?
No,
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was in the,
we were
This
gonna
one.
add it
Yeah.
and we changed the
Okay.
position altogether.
so that doesn't, that's good, then it doesn't have to be changed, but then, yeah, either them or the building official and part of the permits and stuff, I guess.
Well,
I mean, it has to get done, and that's, I mean, we only have so many people. And it's gotta get done.
I guess we can see how it works, and if it doesn't work out, we'll have to figure out something else. I don't have a problem with it, but
That's something Palm River does.
We talked to them about it a couple years ago and they said they would do one inspection. Our policy is we do 3 inspections, the location, preliminary or the first coat, and then to make sure the final's there. But it's something could talk to them about and see.
well, maybe we'd have
It would
to
be
change our
outside.
policy.
I think we should check with Rum River, see if they'll do it. All
right.
Is it worth putting an ad out for it?
I don't think the workload,
I just have a huge issue thinking that our maintenance guys have time to do that.
I see.
Because if they really had time to do that, why are we hiring another park attendant?
Do we know how approximately how many driveways we had last year? Yes. 10?
20.
Not that many driveways.
Averaging 9 hours a week, is that right? For our employee?
Not specifically for that, but
Oh,
we
Judy, you have a comment?
Back in the day, the building inspector, part of the permit process was at the.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, use the microphone.
It's like the worst thing on the planet.
You gotta use that one. I guess you can use that one.
Not loud enough. Back in the day, our building inspector, or a building inspector, that was part of the permit for building. Because you needed to have that access to your property. So I don't know why the building inspector wouldn't be part of that duty still.
That's what we use Rum River for.
Yes, we have Rum River. Okay, so would you check with Rum River and see if they'd be willing to do it? And if they only do one, then we'll bring it back and we'll see what we do with it.
It's, yeah, it's costing, we can cost them, we can cost Public Works and make a decision. It's understanding the workload too, maybe too, if you could pull the 23 data and just say, this is what we had for permits, because I think we got some that are based on new construction and some that are just adding a second driveway if they're doing an outbuilding or something like that. It's definitely gotta get looked at.
So what do you think? Just, we'll have the maintenance guys do it until we get the word back from Rum River? Is that what you want to do? Because we have some coming up between now and then.
Nope.
Well, there's gotta be some kind of training, because our maintenance guys are not trained in driveway inspection, so.
No, well, they have to take our policy and walk out to the policy and go, this is what it says it's gotta be.
Who's gonna train them, Bob?
Carol?
You don't have that employee
No,
anymore.
we don't. You are correct.
All right,
I'll be happy to work with them
Yeah.
and Susan or whoever on what we need to figure out if we have to
do it.
refigure out the rules or whatever.
Yeah, it's a
we'll
written
have to do it.
policy, we can review that and.
All right.
But yeah, if Rum River can do it and they're satisfactory, I'm fine with that.
All right, so maintenance until we figure out from Rum River, and if Rum River can't do it, we'll figure it out from there. Anything else, sir?
on that
Zoning
one.
assistant enforcement position.
I had that put on there. The only reason why was because out of our discussion 3 weeks ago, we created a position. And then we took a person from an existing position and put her into that position. And we never did anything with the existing position. And typically you would want to officially close that position out. So it's not an open vacant spot. May seem like a simple thing, but it's just simple housekeeping. So I'm going to make a motion that the zoning assistant and enforcement's position is no longer available.
You want to abolish that position?
I want to abolish that position, yes.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, sir?
Nope.
New business, auditor letter of engagement. Smith Schaefer not to exceed $28,700. Yeah, that's you.
Every year we get audited, we also enter into a letter of engagement stating what they're going to do for the township. So I'm just looking for approval to enter in the letter of approval for them, not to exceed 28,500,
That'll make a
700.
Make a motion, we approve not to exceed $28,700 for the auditor.
Second it.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Purchase forever stamps, 50 rolls in the amount of $3,402.35. And I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna make the motion that we buy those because I have heard what the price of stamps are going up to. And they're gonna skyrocket. I
Second.
will make the, okay, so moved and seconded, we purchase forever stamps, 50 rolls of forever stamps and the cost of $3,402.35. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Town law review, Friday, May 31st at Seago. It's a $65 registration. Pam? I know you had to put this on there.
I did put it on there, the topics that are coming up on there, I think would be beneficial for 3 staff in the office. So I guess I'm asking permission to close the office on Friday, May 31st, so office staff can attend the town law
Somebody want to
review.
attend? Who else
Three.
going?
Alyssa, Susan, and I.
Make a motion to allow the town hall, the town office to close on Friday, May 31st for the town law review and allow 3 members to go to the review at the cost of $65 a piece for registration.
It was a beautiful motion.
Did you like that?
That was.
I
spot
pitched that
on.
sucker out there and 100% all together. Is there a
I
second?
said,
And Carol seconded. Talk about kicking this down the road. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'll never be able to pull that off again.
Good one.
I will never pull that off again.
So before you move forward, what about supervisors attending that?
Is there any supervisors who want to attend it?
I would like to.
Okay, and add one more to that. So I'll make a motion to allow John to attend that town law review. Is there a second?
second.
second it.
Seconded? Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Resolution 2024-07. Memorializing ARPA funds spent on lost revenue replacement. Man, that sucker was a long read. Okay, there we go. I gotta get down here. Do I have to read this whole thing, or can I just give a resolution resolution number 2024-07, a resolution memorializing ARPA funds spent on lost revenue replacement? Do you want to speak to it? Give an explanation of it?
So the explanation of this is I have to report annually, what we use our ARPA funds with. And this is just stating that, Linwood Township Resolution number 20, I was like, where are we? Oh, that the town has used ARPA funds to pay for the provisions of governmental services reported in 2022, 2023, and 2024 as part of the last revenue replacement. So this is just allocating the funds to date that we've spent and that I have also reported to the state and local fiscal recovery funds.
All right. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-07, memorializing ARPA funds spent on lost revenue replacement.
Is there a second?
Second it.
It has been moved and seconded. Discussion. I just wasn't gonna read all those whereases because there's a potload of whereases to read through that thing. Hearing no more discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Chem Site Software Annual Renewal and the cost of $1,460. That is for,
Cemetery.
Cemetery software we use for tracking the cemetery.
okay,
Just a
your
renewal.
motion to approve the payment.
Make a motion that we approve the payment to SemSite Software for an annual renewal of $1,460.
Second.
Your second? Andy seconded.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Okay, Fire Department, March 2024 payroll, direct deposits. Number 21126 to 21154, and electric fund transfers 21155 to 21156, an amount of $10,640.49. Their motion to pay.
Make a motion to pay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Abstain.
motion carries. Consent agenda, is a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion. Who abstained?
I did.
Bob abstained.
I wasn't here for the meeting.
Oh, okay. One abstained. All those in favor signify by, I'm sorry, voted. Motion passes.
And you captured mine on the other one, did you, Pam?
I know these Okie things that start sticking with you when you come back after this long. You start talking Southern with the drawl and stuff. All right, supervisor comment, supervisor, let's start with the treasurer tonight. We're gonna start with the treasurer and go that. We're gonna go backwards. What do you got?
I gave you guys a balance sheet. Started the audit today. It's going well. So well that I don't think they're coming back. Normally they're here for 2 days and they left before 5 o'clock, said they have what they need, and so that went very well.
That's for you.
That's a plus, yep.
Thanks.
Good job.
Question.
Yeah.
on Recycling. I don't see this paper, but.
Recycling is negative $38,548.
Because we haven't gotten our payment from Anoka County, or is that because they're $39,000 over already?
No, so they're not over budget. So if you look at the remaining budget, they're not over their budget. But if you look at the actual account balance, the general fund is negative right now, as well as the recycling.
Oh.
Because money wasn't levied for it for one of these, and the other, we have not gotten our payment till July.
Right.
Okay.
And the other fun one I'll bring to you next meeting is I'm working on the swing away mailbox posts, because we only have 4 mailbox swing aways left and 1 pole. So I've been getting quotes together and trying to follow state statute, so I'll be getting you some numbers on that for the next meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Pam?
I have
Don't
some
screw you up,
information
start
on
early.
the sirens.
Oh my God.
Our emergency sirens. Anoka County is moving forward on their update with the software and equipment. And there's hardware updates needed on each pole. Remember, the township has 3 emergency sirens. And the updates will be scheduled through Embedded System, is the company that we contract to maintain our sirens. And we will pay Embedded for those costs. The cost per pole for the updated hardware, including installation, is $995. So that's a far cry from, yeah, that we were looking at before.
Yep.
However, siren boxes above 10 feet may require a bucket truck for access. If a bucket truck is needed, township will pay for that. Each board, so it's a printed circuit board that's being put in there. Each board has a 12-month warranty. And some of the installations may be delayed until 2025, just depending on who can pay for it. But then what else did I want to tell you? I don't know if any of our control boxes are over 10 feet. I kind of don't think
I
they
think
are.
most of them they're like 8, 6, 7 feet above the ground. I mean, they're about eye level.
Right. Oh, the transition. So when they put the new boards in, the Anoka County will still be operating on both old and new systems, so we shouldn't see a lag in there. If a new board goes in, then the county will be talking to that new board. If we've still got some that have the old boards, so they'll keep both systems operational until everybody is up to date.
You know what the difference is between sirens in Oklahoma and Minnesota? Minnesota, everybody goes outside and tries to find the tornado. Oklahoma, everybody dies for their shelters. Just to let you know. I saw them. I mean, it's pretty bad when you got tornado shelter in your garage. I mean, out of 1/4-inch steel. So, anything else, Pam? I'm sorry, getting off subject, but since it
No,
was
it's
interesting.
No, thank you.
Okay, Carol?
Have nothing.
Yes.
Grass cutting. Grass is growing really good this year. So the guys are staying busy with that. We're gonna start road patching here within the next couple of weeks. Street sweeping, I talked to the contractor. They are planning on coming in and starting that next week. Probably only take them a couple days. We've got a cylinder that's leaking on the front of one of the plow trucks. Replacement was almost $1,900, so we got a bid on just repairing it. It looks like it's gonna be a couple $100 to reseal it, but we won't know until after they actually open it up. If it's just a reseal, it's $285. If they have to put a new rod in it, it'll be a total of $860, but got to get that thing. It was actually leaving a puddle of hydraulics on the floor. And then we've got, I think, staff training on the 30th of this month. And I think everybody's supposed to get their comments to you by the 23rd. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated that. That's it.
Bob?
Nope.
Andy?
I'm good, sir.
Yes?
Now she wants to come up to the microphone.
Nash wants to talk on my phone.
You should have talked about the Martin Lakes annual meeting and the award you received. Yes, I think so.
All right. Yeah, one thing in the bottom of your packet there is that, Sarah, we had an event in the senior center last weekend, and she's going to retain $25 of their damage deposit when they put everything back in the storage room back there. It was just totally a rate. You got pictures on in your computer, what it looked like when they went in there, what it cost for us to do that. Sarah decided on $25 to hold it. Asked me if I thought it'd be fine if she did that. I told her yes, because this just, I want the board to know that, yeah, people don't clean up, they don't do things. We do a whole part of their damage deposit. 'Cause I've heard people say, well, do we ever do this? Just wanted to be out here clear that everybody sees it, that yes, we do hold money back from damage deposits when people don't clean up or do what they're supposed to do. So I told her, yes, I wanted this in here just so everybody can actually understand that we do that. So is there anything else to come before this board? We just said yes. Oh, Tony, come front, talk on the microphone. You're getting better.
On this comment section, I'd like to see public comments on the back of that, because people here are important too.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Tony.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, Tony. Anything else come before the board? Hearing
Motion,
nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Is
Second.
there a second? It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:27.